welcome to the Modern Persian Food Podcast. We're food bloggers Bita
and Bita Kelly.
We're here to share with you the rich flavors and fresh ingredients of Persian cooking, how to incorporate them in today's modern lifestyles.
We're excited to introduce you to the flavors, tastes, and techniques we use, and also our own cultural stories and perspectives growing up in the U.S. in a Persian family. Thank you for joining us.
Today's episode number 9 is all about tea, Persian tea in Farsi, chai. We're going to talk about how important tea is in the old culture in terms of the role that it plays in our culture. And we're also going to dive into a little bit how you prepare Persian tea and whether or not we drink it today in our modern lifestyles. So why don't you start us off, Bita? Do you drink tea?
I do drink it. I don't drink it every morning. I am pretty partial to drinking a big fat cup of coffee with a lot of milk in it every morning. So I've kind of stuck to that routine, but I really do love tea in the afternoon or when I am entertaining, or if we go to like a mehmuni. And as you know, mehmuni is like a party gathering, and tea plays like a huge role in that. The tea is served right when guests get there. It's like the first thing offered. And it's not like, oh, would you like tea? I'll go make some. The tea is already ready to go. It's already been brewed. And we'll talk about how we actually brew it in a few minutes. But tea is basically the like drink of choice in most Persian households. You have it at the mehmuni. You have it, like I said, right when you first get there. You have it after the meal. And in some houses, it's on all day. It's simmering on the stove, or in sometimes like in a samovar, which is like a big vessel that they use to boil water and brew the tea. So I don't drink it all the time, but I really do enjoy having a beautiful amber color tea accompanied usually with some sort of sweet like cookies or chocolate or something to have with it. It's its own ceremony in a lot of different households. How about you? Do you drink tea?
Like you, I start my day with a really strong coffee because I love actually the taste of coffee, but also for the caffeine of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I drink coffee in the morning, but I do like tea. I don't personally drink a ton of Persian tea every day. My husband does. Bobby loves real Persian tea, which we'll go into how you make that. But just to chime in on some of the tea culture, like you said, when you go to a party or a mehmuni, or even just are dropping by an Iranian family's home, it isn't a question, as it is in the Western culture, of it's dessert time. Would you like coffee or tea? It's just the tea is on, and then the tea is served. And it's refilled, and it's hot and steamy and dark and aromatic. I don't know if I make it really good. I maybe have an insecurity, some sort of deep inner insecurity about my Persian tea making skills, but let's get into that. Do you make a real Persian tea?
If I'm like entertaining, especially, I will have a big pot of tea going. And basically the way that you make traditional tea is you have a kettle that has hot water in it. You also have a separate, smaller kettle that is the tea concentrate, essentially. So you basically brew the smaller amount with a bunch of tea leaves, and then you pour the hot water on top of it. And the hot water has to boil. But then when you actually add it to the tea leaves, it's better if it's not like super boiling. Just wait like a minute or two so that the boil actually stops, so you're not actually burning the tea leaves. And then you pour it into the smaller tea kettle with the tea leaves, and then you traditionally place it on top of the other kettle. So if you take the lid off of the big kettle and you place the smaller one on top, the hot water gently heats and keeps warm the tea and lets it brew.
So that always kind of scares me. It looks like a normal teapot on the bottom.
Yeah.
And then there's like a second mini one on top, like you said.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary to deal with because a lot of times it's china and you might burn your hand because you have to pour the strong tea leaf mini pot first, but then the water underneath is boiling and oh my gosh, I'm burning my hands.
It does take a little bit of practice to actually get the hang of it. So you let that brew for maybe like 10 minutes. And then when you're ready to serve it, you pour some of the concentrated tea into a little teacup, then top it off with the plain boiling water. But yeah, there is an art to it. You have to be careful not to burn yourself. So you take the little small kettle part off, put the cover back on the big kettle of the hot water, and just be careful not to burn your hands. Use like a pot holder if it's hot. And the reason why it's done in like 2 different steps is that you can actually have control over the color of the tea. Persian tea is like a really beautiful dark amber color when it's brewed. The darker it is, usually the more caffeine that's in there. So people can adjust it to the darkness and the color that they want. But a beautiful cup of Persian tea is rich amber color. And the preferred cup choice is usually like a clear glass with this handle that showcases the color. And it looks really beautiful when you have like a tray of all these little like glasses of tea.
Yeah. And a traditional tea set, which I have one. I can't say I use it. It's actually in my cupboard with clear glass. So it looks pretty.
Showcases it.
It showcases it. But like you said, the clear glass, so you can see the good color of the tea. And that clear glass goes inside usually ornate metal holder that has a little handle for you to hold it. And I think that is for 2 reasons. It's very pretty, but also it's easy to wash the glass. Well, 3 reasons. It's easy to wash the glass. You can see the color of the tea and you won't burn your hand.
Yeah, that's right.
Because a good Persian tea has to be super, super hot. So we have something that boils our water. And we make a pot of real Persian tea. So we have a modernized, pretty cool pot. Bob loves this pot. You put the fresh tea leaves in the middle, and then you pour the boiling water in, and it steeps. You lift it up, and then you put your cup under it, and then it just comes out. And then he places the pot down, and then he adds the boiling water.
Okay, so he puts the tea concentrate and then he tops it off with the hot water.
For sure. And then he actually takes it with him in a commuter mug, a big, huge thing of tea. So he does love his tea. And the thing about Persian tea is that you can warm it up, at a party or even just when you're drinking it, you can just warm it up with the hot water.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
And this sort of has to do with caffeine and also age. I noticed that the older Iranians often ask for kamrang.
Yeah, kamrang, which basically translates to less color.
Yeah, a lighter tea, especially if it's maybe later in the day. My dad used to start to drink it like this later in his life, and my mother-in-law.
Sometimes when we have parties and you're doing like after dinner tea service, essentially, I'll do half of like a beautiful colored tea. And then the other half, what I'll do is put fresh mint leaves in there and top that with hot water. So you can have a choice of if you want tea or if you want to have like a mint tea. And actually it's just the plain mint leaves, fresh mint leaves with hot water. And it colors the water and it gives such a strong scent and flavor to it. So it makes it like a fun alternative if you don't want to have the caffeine.
Yeah, that was my dad's favorite way to have it. Do you make your own mix? What type of actual tea leaves do you put in your mix?
I like to have Earl Grey or like a Darljaleen, and I'll pretty much have the loose tea leaves and mix it a little bit. But honestly, if I don't have that, I'll use like a regular Earl Grey tea bag, or there's some Persian brands that actually have some cardamom in it, and I'll just use the tea bag if I don't have the exact Persian blend that I want to use. But any kind of dark black tea leaves really works. Is there a certain blend that you like to use?
Yeah, I remember my dad liked the same ones that you did. The Darjeeling and the Earl Grey were his favorites. For Bob, he likes the store-bought mixes from Iranian or Middle Eastern markets. Different brands have them, and they're already mixed, and they usually have cardamom in them. Cardamom in Farsi, like we talked about, is hell. But sometimes if I'm making my own mix, as you said, any black tea will do. English breakfast, Irish breakfast, jasmine, Earl Grey. I will sometimes add actual cardamom with the leaves that are brewing.
That brings up a good point. Persian tea, Persian chai is very different from what many people think of when they hear the term chai, like chai. A lot of times when you hear the word chai, it's like this rich, creamy, very spice heavy drink. Persian tea is usually clear. It could be like a dark amber color, like I mentioned, but it's usually clear. So yes, sometimes there's a little bit of cardamom in it, but typically it's not full of different spices as you would think like a traditional chai would have.
Yeah, only one spice, just the cardamom or none.
Yeah.
You're right. It doesn't have a lot of spices and it doesn't have cream or milk. It's just water, usually served with sugar cubes.
Yep, rand.
Or a yummy Persian sweet.
Yes.
Any sweet.
Any sweet, really. Some cookies are great. You have a few good cookie recipes. Tell us what cookies you like to have with tea.
I love cookies. I love all cookies. I am not partial to cookies. I love home-baked cookies, any soft cookie. I love a buttery cookie. As far as Persian cookies go, the differentiating factor is they're tiny little itty bitty.
Yeah, that's right. That's a good point.
The two main ones that come to mind that you often see even packaged together from bakeries or Middle Eastern markets, they're actually both gluten-free. One is made with rice flour and it's got like a rose water flavor. I make those too.
The noon berenji.
Yes, noon berenji. And berenji means rice. So yeah, rice flour. And then there's one that's made with chickpea flour that's really cute. It's clover shaped.
No nohochi.
Nohochi.
I love that. Although not everyone loves the chickpea flour because it kind of like dissolves a little bit in your mouth. I love them. I could have like a whole little box of them.
The fresh ones are so good.
Yeah.
I do actually like tea bags. The way that I drink tea on a cold, cozy day is to use tea bags. And I don't necessarily only have Persian tea. I really like a sweet tea, like cinnamon apple. There's so many varieties out there now, or turmeric ginger. I just feel like healthy if I just want to get warm. And what kind of other teas do you drink?
Yeah, I actually like ribus tea. I'm not sure if it's ribus or rubus, but it's actually a root, I believe. You brew it like a tea. It's very earthy. I actually just got a new box of it that has blood orange in it. You know, sometimes I'll just make like ginger tea. Like I'll put like a slice of ginger in some hot water, especially if I'm like a little bit under the weather or something and I want to like kind of get the ginger antioxidants in. Just literally put like a slice of ginger and put hot water on it. In the morning, I have my little elixir of my turmeric, and that's with hot water. So that's kind of like a little tea drink that I have. If I'm not having like a traditional, like the amber colored Persian tea, I like to actually add milk to mine at nighttime. If I'm like, you know, want to have something cozy to drink, I'll like make a cup of tea and I'll put a little bit of milk in it to kind of like be a little comforting little treat for myself.
It's a cool day today, and all this tea talk is making me want to go make some.
Yeah.
Go warm up.
Yeah.
We have gotten a lot of interaction and feedback and questions around our section that we call Ask the Beats.
Yeah, Bita June, I do think that we've received a lot of great questions. So if anyone else has any questions, please feel free to email us at hello@modernpersianfood.com or comment on any of our Instagram posts and we will answer your questions. But what is today's question?
Today's question comes from Kathy of Simple Good Foods. Thank you, Kathy. Her question is, where does Persian food and Persian spices become a fusion with other types of cooking and other cultural foods?
I think that's a great question. I think that there are a lot of similarities between ingredients used in Persian cooking and in other cultures as well. Immediately off the top of my head, I think of Sicilian food. I have a Sicilian cookbook, and it's just so interesting as I flip through the pages that there's so much overlap between all our culture and their culture. The stuffed grape leaves and orange blossom. It was just very shocking to me that how many similar items that I found, like from Sicilian culture, even though you don't automatically think that like an Italian Sicilian culture would have similar flavors, but there's a ton of similar flavors. But what are some other ones?
Well, from a spice standpoint, Indian food comes to mind in terms of turmeric. Every once in a while, Persian food has cumin, not a lot. And obviously the rice, our rice that we use is Indian basmati rice. Then I also think of like Moroccan spices, cinnamon and cumin, and there's a lot of crossover.
Yeah, and also in Moroccan food, I feel like there's a lot of plums and fruit in their dishes and in their tagines. And I feel like that kind of shows up in Persian foods too. The plums especially is definitely like in the lavashak, which is the Persian fruit roll. And then a lot of other foods that kind of adds that sourness to a lot of dishes.
Yes, and Turkish and Greek food. There are a lot of actual dishes that are almost exactly the same. We have dolma, dolmachas, however you say it. In Greek is the stuffed grape leaves, baklava crosses over, kebabs cross over, a lot of the dips, yogurt dips.
The salads, salad shirazi, the cucumber, tomato, and onion salad is like kind of very similar to like a Greek salad.
That was a great question.
Yeah, great. Well, thank you guys, everyone, for listening. We hope you have a great day. And thanks again for listening to our show. So you've been listening to Modern Persian Food with Bita and Beata. Thanks for spending time with us. If you enjoyed what you heard today, consider telling your friends or giving us a good rating on iTunes. You can subscribe to our show for free on your favorite podcasting app or find us online at modernpersianfood.com for recipes and info that we talked about today. Thanks so much. We'd love to hear your thoughts and see you next time.